Hey guys, it's Jack. I wanted to let you know that we're starting a new push for subscriptions here on Human Events Daily. So make sure that when you're listening to this podcast, you hit subscribe, you download it, and you share it with 5 of your friends. Make sure they're all going and downloading as well, because we need to get the signal out as much as possible. Look, we've done so much over the past couple of years since this show started, and we're only going to do so much more. Let's get it. This is what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is king. So we are told that many Iranians are struggling to afford groceries as the Trump administration continues to go after that country's economy.
The economic pressure is beginning to bite. Prices are going up. Availability of goods is going down. And even some within the Iranian leadership are now talking about a change in approach. President Pezeshkian saying today, for instance, quote, "It is better to end the war today when we are in power and dignity," and that is the first time we have heard a senior Iranian official use the words "end the war today."
We are talking about white non-college voters. This is Trump's base. But look at Trump's net favorability rating. You know, you go back to November of 2024 when he was reelected to a second term. Look at this. He was 25 points above water. Now look at this. He's at -6 points down in the cornfields of Iowa. I feel like sweeping it away here with my hoe. My goodness gracious.
For the first time in more than 2 months, the U.S. military has carried out a strike on a boat it says was trafficking drugs. U.S. Southern Command said early this morning that 2 people were killed in Sunday's strike in the Pacific Ocean. Southcom says the vessel was operating along established narco-trafficking routes in the eastern Pacific.
Trump's trade deal with Canada collapses overnight. The deal's demise means 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of goods will now go into effect, hitting products ranging from alcohol to hockey sticks. Now, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said in a statement that the results of the negotiations had not been enough to meet our objectives for Canadians and pointed the finger at Washington.
The U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer said the U.S. had offered tariff reductions for Canada on steel, aluminum, alcohol, and lumber. A senior administration official told CBS last night that Canada wanted tariff concessions on automobiles that the U.S. was just not willing to give.
America does not deserve that unlimited. That's my new thing.
He's worried having his image, which is why
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We're here live, Real America's Voice. Today is August 24th, 2026, Anno Domini. Breaking news out of the post-millennial today. A spokesman for the Communist Party of America now sees a membership surge over the last decade. Quote, "We've always seen the young generation as the spark of the revolutionary movement, and that's where the energy comes from." This is particularly since the Bernie Sanders 2016 presidential campaign. So Communist Party co-chair Joe Sims posted to the organization's YouTube channel, member and co-chair of the New York Young Communist League, Brooklyn Crawford, asked about the Communist Party has been experiencing this surge. So this is in league with the DSA. The video is entitled, "We're So Back." So, of course, the Communist Party can't meme. They're stealing our memes. They stated in the last year that the Communist Party, listen to this and take it very seriously. The Communist Party of America has recruited 20,000 members over the last several years. Sims explained that the younger members were increasingly more willing to publicly identify themselves as members of the Communist Party. We've always seen them as the spark of the revolutionary movement. We say who we are and what we are, and nobody gets upset. We have to organize the party in that tradition and that spirit. Folks, understand that this is all connected. there is a degenerate thread that runs through all of this. Whether it's Hasan Piker up there singing to a crowd of degenerates in San Francisco, mocking Charlie, mocking his death, laughing about the response to it, mocking you, mocking Christians who sought to use Charlie's murder as a way perhaps to go back to church, to open up a Bible. Let me tell you something, folks. These people will put a bullet through your Bible. They'll put a bullet through you, and they will laugh about it. They will cheer about it. They will celebrate it. They think it's funny. They're joining the Communist Party again. The DSA is on the march. The socialist revolution is on the march. So when are people going to wake up as to what's happening in this country? They're killing us. They're killing Christians. They're going after Christians. They're putting people in the grave. And people think it's a joke. They say, we'll just laugh about it. It's not a big deal. You know, we'll make some counter memes. It's just politics. It's no big problem. You know, nothing to be too worried about. Yeah, nothing to be too worried about until you're holding the funeral, until you're sitting there going through the autopsy pictures. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about at all, right? No big deal. So you got Maggione shooting people on Fifth Avenue, walking down the street, 2 in the back. Understand what part of the movie we are in, ladies and gentlemen. You might not be interested in socialist revolutions, but you better wake up because, ladies and gentlemen, you are in one. You're in one right now, and it is time to strike back. Jack Posobiec, right back. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice.
Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, folks, we're back. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. Ladies and gentlemen, there are hundreds of data broker companies out there publishing your name, your family members' names, your address, your phone number, as well as basically everything about you that's ever been online. It's leaked. Maiden names, old addresses, tax records, email addresses, all of it. It's sitting right there unless you actively take it down. Someone who knows what they're doing can find out where you live, find out where you used to live. They can see when deeds changed hands. They can map out your life. That kind of research is not hard to do. Plenty of people doing it don't have good intentions. If you don't want that info out there, if you don't want someone jumping on your Facebook because they figured out your account, found your birthday, and used that to answer your bank security questions after finding your login on the dark web, you can do something about it. Patriot Protect is how you do it. They get your information removed from these data broker sites before anyone gets the chance to use it. This isn't something you do after someone's already stolen from you. It's something you do in advance. Other services just alert you once your money's already gone. Patriot Protect makes sure you're unsearchable in the first place. A phone scam can run you thousands of dollars. It's way cheaper. Just head over patriotprotect.com and use promo code POSO for 15% off. The link is right in the description of everything we put out. So protect your own privacy. There's real benefit to being harder to find online. Get some digital camouflage in your life and become unsearchable. Patriot-protect.com/POSO. All right, folks, and I wanted to bring in here now my good friend and co-author of not just Unhumans, but also Unhumans' second edition, Socialist Revolution, currently #1 on Amazon. I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and supporting this. #1 on Amazon in Politics of Globalization. It's Joshua Lysak. Joshua, how are you?
Well, thank you for having me on, Jack.
That's right. So we've got another #1 Amazon bestseller in terms of this. But Joshua, we got 14 new chapters here. And when you see what's going on with this breaking news about the Communist Party coming out and gloating that these murderous freaks now are boasting about 20,000 members in their midst. And people will say, well, Jack, hold on, wait, that's, Turning Point's way bigger than that. The Republican Party is way bigger than that. I think you need to understand something. That means 20,000 people who are willing to pick up a gun and shoot Christians. That's way too many than we want committed in any organization like that. 20,000 people who are willing to commit violence against you and your children. That is an insane number. If there were 20,000 members of the KKK or 20,000 members of Proud Boys or anything like that, it would be national news. But unfortunately, here in the United States, this is not national news anywhere but right here on Human Events and with the work that you and myself do every day. And we're putting out these books, Joshua. And by the way, programming note, we do have President Trump will be speaking soon so on its education policy. So we will be taking that, of course, when it goes live because he may be doing other questions. But Joshua, I think the answer is almost speaks for itself. But walk through for people why we did this new version of Unhumans, why we decided to update it, why we decided to have this new book out for pre-release and the 14 new chapters.
Yes, the Unhumans first edition in its first release was a reframe of history. The last 250 plus years of Western history has in fact been a series of left-wing revolutions across time, space, place, and race, up until the Cold War period, the very end of World War II, when the Communist Revolution came to America. And what we've seen since then, first the infiltration of the State Department, the universities in Hollywood. McCarthy, of course, was right about that. Subsequently, major institutions from the executive branch, the judicial branch, into the churches and education system, so on and so forth, a slow-walked cultural revolution. This was the Unhumans hypothesis, of course. We explained the past. And first, people said that we were hyperbolic, we were extreme. And then month after month, year after year, it turns out, no, we were just right about everything. Unfortunately, the Unhumans hypothesis has been proven correct 100%. And so now we're sort of wondering, where do we go from here? How do we fight back? We're seeing the left as institutions being increasingly overtaken by radicals, by frankly, street thugs who are celebrated. Luigi Mangione has become a folk hero. The deeds of the credibly accused defendant Tyler Robinson, of course, have created him into be some kind of a folk hero. We've seen the mocking of the murder of innocent men, women, and children. We saw, let's say, the fifth wave feminist movement last week. All of this is in the present moment explained by the Unhumans hypothesis, and it's also predicted. What must we do next? Now, as the ranks of the Democratic Socialists of America swell, we've got paying members also of the Communist Party USA, who famously condemned the first Unhumans book and wrote a scathing rebuke of us. And it's not that they disagreed with any of the facts presented; they simply didn't like it. And so in this current age, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? What's working?
Well,
what's
actually, Joshua,
not to defend the West?
If I may, I'd love to add one on that. One thing that we've been kind of remiss on and slept on is that people don't realize that the Democrat primary for Washington, D.C., which is essentially the real election because we know a Democrat's going to win, that mayoral primary, a DSA member, Janice Lewis-George, just won there as well. So you've got Washington, D.C. as well is going fully socialist. So people need to understand that this isn't things that are happening in the abstract, okay? This is what's happening in real life. You've got Democrat socialists that are winning in New York City. They've won in Michigan, maybe not in name, but obviously in spirit. They came very close to winning in Wisconsin. You've got one up now in Washington, D.C., who's going to be the next mayor, all right? And so people have to understand that you're going to have the soft edge of this, which is, of course, as you say, the Mandamis, and then you're also going to have the hard edge of it, the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks of Mangione.
Yes, and it's unfortunate because we predicted all of this, and many first responded thought, "Oh no, this isn't. This is too far. You're going too far." And then we realized, oh no, we've gotten so many apologies, frankly, over the last 2 years that yeah, you guys were just right about everything. So now what do we do? Well, the second edition with the 14 new chapters is the answer to. So now what do we do? What all has gone on? What is still protectable? What is salvageable? What is reversible? What can good, normal, everyday people do? Those who are allies in the Republican Party, who understand uniquely the inhumane ideology of the far left, what is to be done? Well, we explain all of it in the book: how to defend our families, defend ourselves, defend our country, and even engage in counteroffensive legally, of course, and we are being fought on two fronts, frankly. There is the ever leftward moving in mainstream institutions aligned with the Democratic Party, of course, and then there are those who are pushing the limits. It's that sort of push-pull of the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks, right? Where the Mensheviks want socialism, but the Bolsheviks also want socialism, but much more faster and much more violently. One has social justice, one has street justice, but both of them are extrajudicial justice, which of course is no justice at all. And it's the ever-present left-wing friend-enemy distinction. And we still have conservatives, unfortunately, on our side who are pointing out the hypocrisy of it and double standards much. But understand that's exactly the point. Of course, they're going to treat their guilty friends better than innocent enemies of theirs. They're going to punish our people for what we didn't do and excuse their guys for what they do because it's on the same side. That's how this works. And we have to understand that the rules of the game have changed because the game itself has changed. This is an all-out battle for Western civilization. There is no second place. It's winner take all.
And this is
that's what time it is in America.
And so this is why we felt that it was necessary, because the game has changed. We're now seeing fifth generation warfare being employed in terms of the socialist revolution that's going on. So we're facing a fifth generation socialist revolution. That's why in our new book, Unhumans, Socialist Revolution, we teach you specific tactics, and we walk through the tactics that they're using against us in the fifth wave Marxist revolution, the fifth wave Marxism, the fifth generation Marxism, and we walk through how to use similar tactics to defeat it. We even also, and this is one of the more incredible chapters, is that we walk through what Charlie Kirk outlined for us after, and of course, you know, Charlie was a big supporter of the original Unhumans. We did an incredible podcast with him. Had the opportunity to record that at the People's Convention, aptly named, right, in Detroit of June of 2024. And he actually said it was the best conversation. He felt that it was the best conversation we ever had, talking about how communism actually works as a tactic. And then it was in the wake of that he went on and put forward his plan for combating the rise of socialism forward. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of people on the right that have picked up this. J.D. Vance has, I would argue. You know, you see the president doing it here and there. You see Scott Bessent talking about it. But by and large, the plan that Charlie left is incredible. It's magnificent. And we need to put it into practice. So that's why we wrote that entire chapter, Charlie Kirk's plan for dismantling socialism. And you know, we took basically what he outlined and mapped that into a system that can be implemented, by the way, everywhere from the federal level to the state level to the local level, even at the school board level or the community organization, even in your HOA, right? You can use these tactics. So these are tactics that even, believe it or not, even in a relationship, these tactics can be used. And oh yes, there is a full chapter on toxic feminism. Right back, Jack Posobiec, Joshua Lysek, the new book, Unhumans, Socialist Revolution, 2nd edition.
You talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, who's done a great job.
All right, folks. Jack Posobiec back, Human Events Daily. Folks, gold has been on a serious run, closing strong Friday and pushing higher again today. So what's behind this move? We'll look at the forces that are hitting the market. War, geopolitical instability, tariff uncertainty, headline-driven volatility, and growing questions about the strength of the dollar. This is why my wife Tanya Tay and I became clients of Allegiance Gold. Not because you panic, but because you prepare. We treat protecting what we've built as seriously as we treat building it. Headlines change, markets change, and the thing nobody is worried about today has a way of becoming tomorrow's headline. If you've worked hard for your savings and your family's future, do not wait until everyone is rushing to do the same thing. Find out how you can move a portion of your 401k or IRA into gold and put physical gold and silver directly in your hands, shipped discreetly straight to your door. Call 844-577-7676 or go to protectwithposo.com and claim your free wealth protection guide. It lays out what the herd tends to miss. And if you qualify, you may be eligible for up to $5,000 in free gold or silver on a qualifying investment. That's protectwithposo.com or give them a call, 844-577-7676. So we're on with Joshua Lysak, co-author of the new edition of Unhuman Socialist Revolution. And Joshua, so when we look at the 14 new chapters, there's one chapter in particular that I got to say, it was producer Foz came up with this idea, and it's something that you kind of do anyway all the time, and we never really thought to write it down. And he passed it to me, and when I said to you that we were looking to put out more Unhumans, he said, "This is what you got to do." He said, "You've got to come up with a vocabulary guide." Tell us about the new chapter, which is a vocabulary guide of the left.
Yes. So for about 4 years now, I've had a number of viral pop-offs called Spot the Propaganda. And what I do is I've looked at headlines from major news networks of the mainstream left, from NPR to the New York Times, Daily Beast, so on and so forth. And that sort of left-wing blogosphere ultimately decides what the mainstream stories are. That's how propaganda moves. But it's first consumed by overeducated, people who are overeducated beyond their intelligence set. These people we like to call NPR Americans. Don't forget the hyphen there. These, and part of the revolution, might be called the useful idiots. These are the people who are the persuadables of the left. They're the ones who show up and they say, Hasan Piker, he's a little extreme, but the guy's hilarious. Or they'll say, they didn't really mean, and then the thing that they do in fact actually mean. And this population, unfortunately, we believe it's the majority of the Democratic electorate. These individuals who believe that they're smart enough to know what news is real and fake, and then know that NPR is real news, the New York Times, etc., is real news, and that op-ed from such and such socialist blogger, that's a true and accurate assessment, because they appeal to the biases. And the NPR Americans, they have been given their own vocabulary, their own glossary, let's say, of left speak. You might even call it unhuman speech, and that it's the opposite of the thing that it's supposed to be. So for an example of this, we've seen the left-wing blogosphere and certain influencers, particularly those using social media, such as Facebook. What they have been doing is they took the right-wing conservative traditional viewpoint of being pro-life, and they've said that being pro-life actually is to be pro-abortion, because what we are is pro-maternal life, and the mother's life is more important. Mom's lives matter, they'll say. And so, in fact, it's we who believe in reproductive health care, another unhuman glossary entry. These things are the opposite of what they in fact are. So now the left is co-opting pro-life to say, we're actually pro the real life, which is the mother, which is why we support the Massachusetts law allowing abortion up to the moment of birth. We've also seen this come into play with fifth wave feminism, the toxic feminism of the last week or so in defense of Lindsay Clancy, where everyone with a TikTok is saying, you have to understand, it was her husband's fault, this horrific crime against these three beautiful innocent children, because he was a narcissist. And of course, narcissist is a label, it's an accusation, it's an entry in the glossary of the NPR Americans. What is a narcissist? A narcissist is a right-wing male who tells a left-wing female no. That's what a narcissist is. Reproductive health care, of course, has nothing to do with healthcare. Of course, it's referring to the slaughter of preborn innocents via brutal methods. And we see NPR Americans using this on each and every issue. When for example, my neighbor city, Springfield, Ohio, when they say, for example, we need to defend our vulnerable population, our vulnerable community of Haitian neighbors, what do they mean by vulnerable? Oh, they mean a class of individuals who have lost their temporary protected status and are now illegal immigrants. They're either criminal or civil lawbreakers or both. So vulnerable means subject to immigration and customs and enforcement. Community means it's a group of people that we try to use as empathy props. And so we have dozens upon dozens upon dozens of these entries so that you can tell when Lindsay Clancy stands or fifth grade feminists or
I gotta ask. So do we have this was one of the ones that I said we have to put in there. And it's this, and by the way, we said this before this chapter we wrote before the Lindsay Clancy toxic feminists really broke out across the internet. An entry for the word narcissist. Joshua, how is a narcissist defined by the left?
Yes, so the narcissist is the right-wing male who simply tells a left-wing female no. That's the beginning and end. And they'll often say they'll also say toxic narcissist. Okay, Jack. Toxic simply means non-left wing. So in NPR American glossary, in the unhuman speech, where the thing means the opposite of itself, which is how they communicate with each other, and now we can understand that we've broken their code. Unhuman Second Edition gives you the left-wing lexicon. So a toxic narcissist is a non-left-wing male who says no to a left-wing female on an issue that is of left-wing interest.
Right. Someone usually a guy used. Who tells a woman, who tells a liberal woman no. Amazing. Josh Lysek, tell people where they can go to pre-order the book and where they can follow you.
Yeah, Unhumans Second Edition with the 14 new chapters, wholly expanded work on the socialist revolution is available right now. Pre-order Amazon, and I'm causing trouble over at Joshua Lysek on X.
Causing so much trouble. Right back, Jack Posobiec. President Trump set to go live very soon at the White House.
On the faculty of one university is one communist too many. One communist among the American advisors at Yalta was one communist too many.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec back live. President Trump set to step out there, the Rose Garden, with the beautiful new, of course, patio that you can see outside. Much easier to hold events. Keep in mind, by the way, just so folks understand this, it's just another of those things that President Trump does from a housekeeping perspective, really, where he's just making the White House more functional. So it's one of those situations where, as I said to someone over the weekend, if this was something that Biden had done or Obama had done, obviously like the ballroom, that this would be something the media would be cheering about. Imagine how breathless the media would be about the ballroom if Obama was doing it. They'd be saying, oh, who's going to be the first to perform there? Who's going to be the first event there? Is Malia Obama going to be married there? What's the occasion? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Bad Bunny, performing? And then they'd be talking about it on The View, and they'd be talking about it on every show. And yet, when it's Trump, suddenly it's so terrible. It's garish. How could he be doing this? How could he be paying for it? So that's one of the rubrics that I like to use for a lot of these types of things when they're running anti-Trump ops, is to say, here's what is going on. How would the left respond if Obama or Biden were doing it? And I say the exact same thing when it comes to, of course, my good friend Natalie Harp, who, of course, has been the subject of much attacks by the media over the weekend and over the past couple of weeks, where, okay, so she's a staffer who's loyal to the president and she works hard, and therefore that's a bad thing. And so you flip that around and say, okay, well, what if this was someone who worked for Obama or worked for Biden? What about Valerie Jarrett? Wasn't Valerie Jarrett living in the White House at one point with Obama? Wasn't Valerie Jarrett someone who was like literally part of the family at one point? And they talked about how great she was. They said, oh, this is wonderful. Look at the loyalty Obama is able to inspire among even women in Washington, D.C., these powerful women. And then she goes off to be on the board of all these. Susan Rice is another one. She's on the board of Netflix. Susan Rice is on the board of Netflix. That's how Obama staffers get treated. But for a Trump staffer, suddenly it's oh my gosh, this person, how dare they? Look what they did. They had to, they were cramped when they had to sit in the motorcade. Like, I've done it a million times, folks. I've done it a million times. Everyone is standing, I believe, for the President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, walking out now.
Well, thank you very much. What a nice setting this is. This is something we spent a lot of time and effort bringing the White House back to a level that it should be at. For essentially 200 years, no work was done on it. It lived on its own merit, but we thought it was proper. If you look at the exterior, you'll see it's all been redone and in perfect shape. It's good for another 200 years, okay? That's the way I look at it. But very important. It's such a symbol, such a representative symbol of us, of what we stand for, and we're very proud to have done it. We're building outside. We're building a beautiful heliport, which has been asked for many, many years. A helicopter would land on wet grass, and it was bad and dangerous. And as you know, over there, we're building a military complex and a ballroom that will be second to none anywhere in the world. We have President Xi coming in 2 weeks, and I was over in China 2 months ago, and we saw the Great Hall of China. Well, now we're going to have a Great Hall, too, in the United States, so it's very important, very, very important. And I want to thank you all and welcome you to the White House as we celebrate back-to-school season in America. It's a big deal. We're delighted to be joined by many incredible parents, devoted teachers, exceptional educators, and star students from all across the nation. In fact, we have so many star students, I want to make offers to some of you to come and join us as soon as you get out of college, because we want stars. We want smart people. We like smart people. Some people say, oh, that's not nice to say. No, we want smart people. I want to thank our great Secretary of Education, a fantastic woman, by the way, my friend and all of that, but she's a fantastic woman. Nobody like her. Linda McMahon, Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen. Jim, thank you very much. Thank you. Look good. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Chairman of the House Education Committee, Tim Walberg. Thank you very much, Tim. Good job. And our press secretary, a mother of two. And, well, she decided she loved her children more than she loved Donald Trump. I'm very upset about this. She has to go home and spend time with her children. That does happen on occasion with some people when they love their children, and she does. And Caroline, congratulations on your newborn, your perfect newborn. And she's done a fantastic job. She's been a great, great press secretary. Now, if I say you're the best of all time, I have Sarah sitting here, so I'll have, but let's put it this way, they were both great. Okay, is that all right? But from the very beginning of our country, Americans have understood that there's no job more important than teaching our children to become happy, healthy, proud, productive, and flourishing citizens. And unfortunately, in the 4 years I took office, and since I took office, our educational system itself was really, it was incredibly, before I got here, it was weaponized like everything else in our government. Everything was weaponized against the goals that we all stand for. And under the last administration, extreme ideologies such as critical race theory and transgender insanity were forced upon our children as young as 4 and 5 years old. Transgender didn't work. Students were taught that our heroes are villains. The FBI was used to target patriotic parents at school board meetings. And meanwhile, far too many government-run schools failed at the basics. And you just have to look at the charts. They were failing at a thing called education, with only 30% of in reading and math. That was under the last administration. Under the Trump administration, we're systematically ending every single one of these radical left betrayals, and we're putting the parents back in charge. They're the ones that love our children. They're the ones that should be in charge. So immediately upon taking office, I signed an executive order to ban critical race theory and to ban transgender ideology from public schools. That was a big deal. We banned men from playing in women's sports. That was so easy to do. I don't get it. They're still arguing. They're still fighting. I saw a Democrat congressman the other day fighting an anchor that was, I would say, somewhere in the middle, but fighting an anchor on men playing in women's sports. And I said, I hope they keep doing that, because it's got to be impossible to win a race politically. Just crazy. I've never seen anything like it. But it continues out there, although we've had big court victories, as you know, and we've largely stopped it. Every public school in America is now on notice that if they tell a child that they're trapped in the wrong body, they are committing child abuse. And as we remove the far-left extremism from the classroom, we're taking historic action to ensure that every child in America has access to a first-class education. The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world by double, and our results should be better than they are. I would look at lists where we're rated out of the 40 top nations, we're rated number 38, 39, and number 40 with all the money we spent. But Linda has changed that so rapidly and so drastically, and frankly, it's shocking how fast it's gone under her leadership. 1 year ago, as part of the great big beautiful bill, we passed the Education Freedom Tax Credit, the largest ever expansion of school choice, and we want, thank you, and we want every parent to have the power to send their child to a high-quality school that shares their values. It's so important. With us today are Caleb and Jocelyn Griffith and their beautiful family from Statesville, North Carolina, a great place. They've 3 biological sons and 2 foster children. School choice and education freedom scholarships are going to give these kids more opportunity than ever before. And I'd like to ask Caleb and Jocelyn to come up and say a few words, please. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
This is my lovely family. Mr. President, thank you for the honor of speaking today. I'm Pastor Caleb Griffith, and I'm joined by my 5 beautiful children. As President Trump said, 2 of them came to us through foster care, which is wonderful. But my children, 1 of them has autism, and 1 has developmental delays. And although they qualify for an IEP, because of the situation, they were unable to get them. So we've been unable to access the support and help they need to be successful. And we're blessed to be from a state that offers school choice, and it has helped part of our children's educational needs. I personally have seen the benefit of the Opportunity Scholarship for my family and the school my children attend, Cornerstone Christian Academy, who is up for running for the Yaz Prize. But it's thanks to great organizations like Parents for Educational Freedom, who have helped 105,000 families just like mine access the Opportunity Scholarship. And now, because of you, Mr. President, and because of you, Secretary McMahon, the Educational Freedom Tax Credits will give my children the access to the services they need to be successful in the most formational years of their lives. I want to tell you, we only get one chance to educate our children, and our children are the future of America. The Bible says to train up a child in the way that they should go, and that's to parents, and this allows parents to do that. So on behalf of my family and every family in America that will access this, thank you, President Trump, and God bless America.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. What a great job. Beautiful, beautiful family. Whoop. He made it. Well, as many of you know, no one cares more about America's children and foster youth than our great First Lady. She works hard at it and loves the children. Through her Fostering the Future initiative, Melania is helping transform the lives of children and young people aging out of the foster care system. And she's bringing hope and countless, you have to see so many people, so many phone calls, so much work, but really bringing hope to countless numbers of families and children, and it's really something to see. It's so difficult. They go through foster care, and then all of a sudden they're released into the world. And, you know, many people have something to fall back on, but they don't. They can't go back to their parents for a little help or for staying overnight or for staying for years in some cases. And it's a very, very tough. So I want to thank Melania. She takes it so seriously. She's done such a great job. It's been so effective. Thank you. And as part of the great big beautiful bill, we have massively expanded 529 education saving accounts tremendously, doubling the annual withdrawal cap from K-12 expenses to $20,000 a year, and allowing families to save the education and money for education at the private or religious school of your choice. So that's something that never happened before. Nobody could even think about doing it. They can't believe it's happened now. And it's largely Linda and her representatives that have done this. And now, for the first time ever, families can also have their 529 accounts to support homeschool education. And then, thank you. And then one of the biggest things of all is what's happened with the Trump accounts, where kids will have money. I mean, every child is given at birth, newborn, $1,000. And you're going to watch that money grow. People like Michael and Susan Dell have put up a tremendous amount of money, over $6 billion. But we have many people. Some people have taken on an entire state, like the state of Indiana, by a very, very fantastic friend of mine, Brad. Thank you very much. And some very wealthy people and very wealthy companies are putting up tremendous amounts of money. The Trump accounts is being talked about all over the world. It's very good and very hot. Joining us today, Marina and Hubert from Jacksonville, Florida. They've been homeschooling their 3 children for 11 years and will benefit enormously from the new policy. The amount of money they're getting is something that they can very much use, and it's something that wouldn't have happened without the Trump administration. So Marina and Hubert, please come up and say a few words.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I have with me my beautiful family, my wife, Marina. We homeschool our 3 kids. We've been homeschooling for the last decade. My oldest son is going into 9th grade, my daughter going into 6th, and my youngest son is going into 3rd grade. Homeschooling is something that is very personal to me. Back in 1988, my parents made the decision to homeschool me. And so I was homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through the 12th grade. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to do the same for my family. Back in 1988, homeschooling wasn't popular. And there was not, I don't think, a president who was supporting us. At this time, to see your administration and all that you've done for homeschooling families not only means the world to me, but to also all the other homeschooling families that are out there. With the great big beautiful bill, the expansion of 529, oftentimes with homeschooling or one income households, because I'm working and my wife is schooling the kids. So being able to have the extra resources to provide them with their needs, and also the option to support our children in the way that we see fit means the world. So I just want to thank you for everything that you've done.
Great parents. You have great parents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful, beautiful family. Thank you. Well, I'm very proud to say that the Trump administration's achieved more for the benefit of Americans' children in less than 2 years than most administrations do in many years. 8 years, or frankly, you can take 2 or 3 administrations, put them together. They haven't been able to do what we did. After decades of racist policies and illegal quotas, we brought back the merit system into education. We're back on the merit system, which is what made our country great in the first place, so that our children will always be judged by the achievements and qualifications, not by the color of their skin or any other reason. We issued a guidance for protecting the right to prayer, and we now protect prayer in the public schools. They're totally protected. And last year I signed a historic executive order to begin the process of eliminating the Federal Department of Education, getting them out of Washington, and bringing education back to the states, the most important thing. And working with me on the Council on Physical Fitness, we've proudly brought back a wonderful tradition, the Presidential Fitness Test. I signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, which people loved, and the farmers love it because they know how good it is more than anybody. But the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, they weren't allowed to have whole milk, if you can believe it. They could have anything else, but they couldn't have great milk the way it is supposed to be, paving the way for more than 30 million children who drink whole milk in school. And we introduced the Real Food Pyramid and reformed the vaccine recommendations to protect America's youth. We're making America healthy again. We're strongly requesting, even telling people when you get your shots for your young child, and this has to do, we think, with preventing autism, that you go to the doctor for 5 small shots instead of 1 big, massive shot. You do it in 5 different shots. 5 different shots. Small, little shots where those beautiful little bodies can handle it. And I think you're going to see a very big difference in the rate of autism, which is like an epidemic, what's happened with autism. And this year, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding, we're also bringing back patriotic education for our youth through the Freedom 250 Mobile Museum. Students from over 3,750 schools are learning about the heroes who have made America the most exceptional nation in history. And we're teaching our children to love America, not to hate America. There's a lot of love going on right now. Our country's never done this well. We have billions and billions of different things happening, money pouring in at the rate of not even billions, trillions, over $19 trillion being invested in America right now. The last administration had less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We had 19, more than 19, 19.2 to be exact, and that's over a period of 12 months. We haven't even included the additional 5 months. So there's never been anything like that in history. No other country in the world has ever had investment like we're having right now being made, which is building factories, car plants, everything, all over, AI, all over the country at levels that nobody's ever seen before. No other country has ever seen what's happened. It's a revolution, a positive revolution. So in everything we do, we're empowering our nation's parents, we're restoring high standards and the pursuit of excellence, and we're proving that the golden age of America education is just beginning. And I want to thank you all for being here. You're incredible people. I know so many of you in the audience, but one in particular who's just an outstanding person, an incredible woman, Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Please come up, Linda. Thank you.
We'll get it down to my speed, which is always the case when I come up to the microphone. We have to adjust it. Thank you, Mr. President, for assembling this incredible event this afternoon, because nothing is more important in our country than educating our students. Parents, educators, and students, happy back to school season. This school year marks a return to common sense in American education, and it's all thanks to the leadership of our president, President Trump. I remember when President Trump called me shortly after the Biden's administration 2024 Nations Report Card, or NAEP, as you've heard, scores were released, and he told me he was angry and he was also embarrassed by where these scores were. We spoke about what a travesty it is that Americans have invested $3 trillion in a federal Department of Education meant to improve student outcomes, and yet only 30% of our students can read or do math proficiently. This is why President Trump demanded a hard reset to our education system, and under his leadership, we are delivering it. We are taking very deliberate and thoughtful steps to return education to the states. This school year, American parents and students have so much to be excited about because the Trump administration is steering education back to its rightful focus, serving students so that they are prepared for successful futures. Our administration has cut billions in funding for radical DEI programs and redirected those dollars to teachers, classrooms, and results, supporting evidence-based literacy instruction, pouring record funding into charter schools, and energizing workforce training. Key decisions that once sat with bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. are moving to where they belong, to the hands of educators, parents, and local leaders who know these children best. 6 states now hold the first ever returning education to the state waivers, freeing over $100 million from federal micromanagement. These waivers allow state leaders to direct federal dollars towards what makes the most sense for their students and not what Washington thinks is best for those students. Additionally, a record 25 states are exercising EdFlex authority, which allows them to immediately free thousands of local school districts from mountains of red tape without first having to receive approval from the Department of Education. And under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring parents' sacred role as the first decision makers in their children's lives. Children belong to their parents, not the federal government. And through the Education Freedom Tax Credit, President Trump has delivered the largest national expansion of education freedom in history for over 50 million eligible children, giving parents unprecedented freedom to choose the path that is best for their child. So it's no surprise that over half of our nation's states, both red and blue, have raced to this historic choice option, benefiting families whether their child attends public or private school. Parents can also rest assured that wherever their child goes to school, this administration is vigorously protecting their right to know what's happening inside those walls. After the Biden administration allowed schools to secretly transition students without parents' knowledge, President Trump is defending parental rights like never before. And at his direction, we are working hand in hand with the Department of Justice to ensure no school district ever has more power over a child than their own parents. Thank you. We've exposed states like California for some of the most widespread